part of why I wrote the memoir is that everybody has a secret story or a story of survival behind them.
Hi there. I'm Michaela Pereira, and so glad you could join us for the show today. My guest today has made her living telling other people's stories. This time, though, she's telling her own. If you are a news junkie, hers is a familiar face to you. And lucky for bookworms just like me, she is also an author. I love being able to say that out loud. Yep. My former colleague, CNN anchor Alisyn Camerota, has written a second book. In fact, this time it is a memoir all about her rock and roll teenage years growing up in New Jersey and how that journey really informed who she is, not only as a mother, but as a news anchor. And she joins me now. Hey, girlfriend, how are you?
Hi, honey. Great to see you.
It's been a long time since we've been in boxes together.
That's right. You're right. I mean, we've been in person together recently, but this is really, I would say, our general interaction, the box thing.
For those that don't know, we did a little show on CNN called New Day with that big lug of a man, Chris Cuomo, all those years ago. A formative time, a significant time in my life. I know it was for you too.
Totally. And you and I bonded in part because of the big lug in the middle that you and I, had to, I think, become allied in solidarity to every morning, like deal with whatever mood Chris was in.
Whatever shenanigans were coming my way. I think I still have bruises from either punching him or him grabbing my leg because I was doing something to pester him. I was like a little sister to him, or a big sister. I guess it varied on the day. What was your relationship like with Chris?
Such a great question. I don't know what kind of relationship you call it when you order an egg sandwich in the morning that you're really excited about eating, and somebody next to you takes a huge honking bite out of it while you're doing an interview. What is that relationship called? I don't know.
I I don't know if there's a Hallmark card for that. I had forgotten that he had done that. Yes, we survived. In fact, I don't know if you remember the day that I left to come back to the West Coast, and I left CNN to come do a show for HLN out on the West Coast. I gave you each a parting gift. Tell the people what your parting gift included.
Mine was a fantastic box that you had filled, and on the box was called Cuomo Survival Kit. And you had in there everything from earplugs to probably just like, bulk food that I could give him, if he was in training or some kind of like just a lot of stuff that would help me in your absence. But I mean, it didn't. There's no replacing you. And so even armed with tools, I couldn't navigate, Chris as deftly as you did.
It's so interesting to think about all that time that has passed. The thing that hasn't changed is this sisterhood. You called me recently to be in conversation with you at a book launch reading that you gave at a local bookstore in Los Angeles, and it gave me such pride to be able to do that. And let me brag for a moment. This is your second book, Combat Love. The first book you wrote was fiction. It was called Amanda Wakes Up. This was a different kind of story. First of all, I didn't even know that you love to write. When has it always been that way, Allie?
Yeah, I think that I process a lot through writing for sure. So I've always kept a journal. I mean, I've had fits and starts with it. It hasn't been every single day, but I definitely do like the writing process. And in our business of breaking news, when things are so fast and they're coming, the fire hose of information is coming at you, I find that writing is a very meditative way for me to slow things down and kind of regroup. So I really, really like the writing process. Some people exercise, some people meditate. I don't know what your sort of, self help healthcare thing is, but writing is really good for my mental health.
I a lot of gardening, getting my hands in the dirt, being with friends,
Mhm.
laughter is a huge one, working out, cooking for people. I have a few. You know, I'm fascinated by somebody who can dedicate to writing in a journal all like repetitively and continuously. I go in fits and starts. I have up above me in my office a bevy of half started, half written in journals. I can't complete them. I have this whole plan to do it, and then it peters off like midway through the year. Well done,
Well, I
you.
mean, you don't have to complete the work in your journal. Just write when you're moved to write. I mean, just write when you're inspired. I have this incredible book called The 5 Minute Gratitude Journal. And so every morning you get up and write the three things that you're grateful for. And at the end of the day, you write what you learned that day. And it is life changing, Michaela. I mean, I really think that by like framing your day in the morning, with gratitude rather than stress, my to-do list, my emails, what's happening in the news, just being grateful. It has, I mean, truly, I feel different for the
It
past
it
year and a
it
half working with.
rewires you, doesn't it?
Yes, yes, it rewires you.
I think people might be surprised to know that their news anchor has a gratitude journal, and it might please a lot of people because I know that folks are worried about journalists because of the onslaught of this news, and that's an important thing to ask about is your self care.
I totally agree. And I recommend a gratitude journal for everybody in any profession. I just think that, you know, that's what we can spread around. And I think that when we have gratitude, we have a more open heart towards other people. We have a more open heart towards ourselves. I find it to be kind of a connection with my better angels. And so it's really, really helped. And I do appreciate that the public does worry about us because they see us in these horribly dangerous or stressful situations, and they always express their care. I mean, their concern for us. And I mean, I know you and I have shared this, like even the Clarissa Wards in our life, the people who are on the front lines of war, we are concerned about, but they have their own strategies for how to get through all of that.
Look, strategies in life are the only way because this thing, by the way, whew, it is quite a voyage we're all on collectively, and then you add all the personal stuff. Um, I'm fascinated by you writing a memoir because we, as journalists, speaking of, our whole thing is to keep ourselves out of the story. You stepped in your own story and says, "I'm going to crack open this vault." That must have felt incredibly. I don't know, would have required a lot of vulnerability on your part.
Yeah, I was scared to do it. I mean, speaking of journals, I mean, there are actual diary entries from when I was a teenager and in my 20s in there that I share virtually verbatim. And I was definitely nervous about it, but somehow I just kept working out the muscle. And I realized, particularly in this moment, people can handle it. They can handle it. I don't know that they would have been able to handle a kind of raw personal anchor story in the 80s or 90s, but now I just feel, Michaela, and I know you've been doing this for so long. This has truly been your nature of like peeling off the mask. You've always let people kind of see behind the anchor mask, but we were trained not to do that. And I just think that time has come now. I just started feeling like the anchor mask and the screen and pretending that we were perfectly polished, people was starting to be like a shield between us and the people that we interviewed and a barrier. And so I think I waited long enough that I don't know between social media and between Gen Z being kind of a much more open book, it didn't feel as scary as it did when I first thought about it.
Well, to me, it's about that authentic connection, right? And anything that's a barrier between us connecting authentically, I'm trying to get it out of the way. So, okay, you write this book. First of all, I imagine it was a process of saying, I want to write this book. That probably started years ago, decades ago.
Well, yes, I always was writing, like I said. So I had some of these episodes already written down and some were in my journal. So I already had some of the raw ingredients. And then I just thought for myself, I wanted to write a chronological arc of where I'd been and where I landed because I had so many missing puzzle pieces in my head of, when did this happen and why did this happen? And I needed to fill it in for my own sanity. So I started writing it down of what happened what year because I had a lot of just very vivid memories of being in, dangerous situations. There were a couple of, close calls I had in cars with car accidents. There were a couple of close calls I had in some crappy neighborhood in New York. And they would bounce around in my head where I would think, was I 14 or 15 when that happened? And then did that happen when I was the summer that I was 17? So anyway, I started writing it all down just for my own sanity. And once you do that, you're sort of halfway to a book, because if you're putting it in an arc and you start to see the arc and the themes, then I thought, okay, I mean, this is a story that I might be able to share, because, I think there's something universal about
For
people's
sure.
survival stories.
There's universality in stories of survival, of belonging, of finding home. Like, all there's themes in this book, look, that I think so many people can resonate with. But to me, it sounds like this was self-assigned therapy. Like, there was catharsis. We hear this from people we interview who write memoirs, that it's a very cathartic experience to put your life down on paper. Did it physically change something? Did it help free some of the bandwidth up in your brain?
Definitely, it did. I mean, so many of these stories were just bouncing around for me that I didn't have a lot of other space. And so by putting it on paper, it absolutely freed it. I don't know that I would have been able to be as present for my three teenagers and my husband if I hadn't have published this book, because there were times that they'd be talking and it would just be echoing of, oh, I remember that feeling of when I was in high school and I had that same crisis. And so by putting it on paper, it has definitely freed me. And also by going back and talking, as I've told you, to the main people in the book with whom I had some unfinished business, including my mom, that has also freed me, because I don't feel like we have anything unfinished anymore.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing, because we nothing is guaranteed beyond today. You did your research, but you also went back and had some conversations with people. You did change names in the book so that you didn't have to totally put their business out there. Was that fun? Was it awkward? Was it a nice reconnection, or a little bit of all of it?
All of it, all of the above. I mean, I am a very nostalgic person. And so going back to these really technicolor moments in my life and calling the people who were involved in it and saying, tell me what you remember. And do you remember this night? And do you remember when I said this or you said this? It was a very special connection for me. And people were generally really receptive to helping me. But there were definitely some people that I had to call that I had, as you'll read in the book, I mean, I had some selfish, very selfish behavior and selfish years. The way I've figured it out is I was just in survival mode. I was
Mhm.
broke. I didn't know necessarily where I was living as a teenager. I had bouts of depression. So I was in such survival mode that I wasn't thinking of other people's feelings. But either way, I was like a total shithead to some people. And I had to call back and be like, hi, remember when I ended our relationship abruptly and didn't give you an explanation? Can we like talk it through now? And people are, I don't know. I mean, this has renewed some of my faith in humanity,
And
because
humanity. I love
people,
that.
I know,
But, you
me
know,
too.
it give a little good word to people, because I mean, I know that your story, while original to you, the idea of not having parental unit that was, giving you what you needed at the time, or feeling like you didn't belong, or leaving home at a young age. What was it in you that you were able to access that helped you survive it?
Well, I know that a lot of people talk about resiliency right now, and resiliency is a big catchword. I think there's a real distinction between survival and resiliency. I don't think I was a naturally resilient kid. I think I was just, I don't. I mean, I really don't think I was equipped with a lot of coping skills. I know I wasn't. And I don't think I was particularly tough. As I write in the book, sports, even sports, regular, like team sports, scared the crap out of me. And so all that happened is when you're in survival mode, it's amazing the strength you can summon, as people will do. You do what you need to do. So if that involves having to sleep in your car, if that involves having to sleep on the beach, if that involves having to scrounge for food, if that involves working two jobs, all the stuff that I did was just really to survive.
So how did you fine tune that those survival skills into, fully functioning adult human, professional mother? I mean, Emmy award winning news anchor. Like, how fill in that gap for me, because you can't exist, you can't stay in hyper alert survival mode and function at a high rate, can you?
No, I agree. I'm quite high functioning. I think that I still have maintained some feral qualities from
Oh,
those days.
talk to me. Share, please. Open up this
So
vault.
I wouldn't call it necessary. Well, it kind of is still survival. For instance, I routinely save food well past the expiration date, and I will eat food. Like, I cut away the mold, and my husband's like, "Alisyn, we can buy more cheese." I'm like, "No, you never know where your next meal is coming from." Like, I will never throw out food. My family's grossed out that I eat moldy food. I mean, I cut away the mold, but you can still it's still good. And I was just when I was with you in LA, I had this moment where I was like, "Oh shit, I forgot to get 2 nights of a hotel room. I only got 1 night. Oh, well, I can just sleep in my car." That was what was happening in my head. I was like, "I can just sleep in my car." Now, I didn't have to, Michaela. This is the thing. Like, nowadays, I can
This is,
afford.
and also, by the way, I have a guest room,
I
and you're
know. I
welcome
mean,
to
this is the
stay.
thing. Like, I could easily have stayed with you.
But
I
isn't
could
that
easily have
interesting?
gotten another room because I can afford it now, but I'm just telling you the feral nature in my
Isn't
head
that
from those years of
interesting?
survival is me going, "Well, I'll just sleep if I have to, I'll just sleep in the car." Like, those
You know
things
what?
have
I'm
stuck with me.
I'm having a callback moment right now of sitting on set with you, and I remember hearing you say those words. There was, I can't even tell you what the scenario was, but I remember you saying the words, "Oh, I'm a feral cat anyway. Like, don't worry about me." And I remember thinking, looking at, like, dressed head to toe elegantly, this expensive haircut, this gorgeous makeup, beautiful physique, know-how, capability, strength, and ask the toughest questions. Feral? No, I don't think so. It doesn't, it's discordant with who you are from the outside, right?
Yes, and I mean, this is my point, is that part of why I wrote the memoir is that everybody has a secret story or a story of survival behind them. Everybody. I mean, anybody interesting. Let's just put it that way. Maybe not everybody, but everybody interesting. And what I found out also in writing the story is the family secrets that ended up affecting my life that I didn't know about. You know, my both my parents had secrets and there were family secrets that I was unaware of, but you don't really have to be aware of the secrets to know that something's off and to have it affect your life. And I think a lot of people can also relate to that.
I am, as you know, an adoptee. And so my early formation was largely around secrets. One of my favorite, to this day, favorite movies, look it up. It's called Secrets and Lies. Brenda Blethyn and Marianne Jean Baptiste are in a movie about secrets and how they just are so destructive. Yeah, I think that's going to resonate with so many people. It's interesting. This is a conversation we had before. Uh, where I think that we have a lot of connective tissue, you and I, not just from the experiences that we had as together as anchors, but also, how our view on life and how we move through the world. But it's interesting. This is where we diverge. I have had to overcome some pretty raging imposter syndrome. My girl here doesn't have a lick of it. She just doesn't even like, it's not something that occurred to her. I'm fascinated by that.
Me too. Because everybody's talking about imposter syndrome. And I'm like, I don't
What's
even
that?
get what it means. I mean, because I just think the way okay, here's a couple things. First of all, I'm an only child. Okay. I'm an only. And so only children, I do think, have a worldview of like, here we are, the world revolves around us. Yeah, we're, like make way for us because we had all the parental attention, we had the grandparental attention. So I think that part of it comes from being an only child. Second, I just learned that, yeah, am I the best fill in the blank? Am I the best, uh, news reader? ever know. I'm sure there are people who are a more seamless prompter reader than I. Am I the best athlete? Hell no, I'm not. Am I the best musician? No, I'm not. But
Well, by
I
the way, she can
have,
make a mean cocktail. I'll tell you that much. I know that enough about you.
this is my
I do.
point, Michaela.
Mhm.
This is my
We all
point.
got a lane.
Yeah, we all have a lane. We all have a lane. And if you are, know your limitations, be honest about them, and know your strengths and be honest about them. This is no time for like false humility. And so in your lane, you deserve to be there. So that's why I don't have imposter syndrome. Like, I'm not great at everything, but I'm good at some things.
But this is the thing. I'm on my way to there. I have my sister from another mister gifted me with a beautiful mug. I wish I had it here that says "You are worthy of your dreams," and I use that mug daily to remind myself that I am indeed worthy of my dreams. Okay, so the kids. Was there a conversation with your fantastic offspring about some of the contents of this book? Because girl, you went there. Oh, you went there. I clutched my pearls, and I'm a grown woman.
Correct. Right. So I did feel the need to warn them that there might be sex, drugs, and punk rock somewhere in their mother's distant past. So I always was warning them, guys, I'm writing this memoir, okay? And you know that the 80s were very different than what it's like today, right? And I kept trying to tell them. And to the point where I really think that I just used like saturation therapy, if that's a thing with them. I talked about it so much. We get it, mom. Yeah, the 80s, we're unparented, yeah, blah blah blah. So they somehow got used to it, but in honesty, Michaela, they haven't read it yet because I also waited so long that they became teenagers themselves. I have two 19-year-olds now and a 17-year-old, and they're off living their lives. Like, the last thing that they're going to do is carve out a week to read their mother's memoir, so they will read it when they're ready.
So I'm just gonna just say that I fully expect that day will come, and there will be a family conference. Maybe one at a time, they'll come to this realization. There's some things they're going to want to talk to you about.
And
I
then I'll
love.
call you.
I
Then I will
call
call
me,
you, Michaela, for
call me.
advice, because at
Yeah.
that point I will need to know what to say to them. Yeah.
You know what? Actually, I'd like to moderate that conversation. I think it could be fascinating. So, do you think you have another book in you, Allie? Has this sparked something in you that you're like? Because, by the way, if you haven't read Amanda Wakes Up, it's such a fun romp. It's I mean, loosely based on your life, our lives of an intrepid reporter trying to make her way in the industry, and it's a fun read. It's meaningful to any of us journalists, or recovering journalists, as I sometimes like to call myself. But do you think there's more? You think?
Well, because I like writing so much, and that is my process, I definitely will never stop writing. I don't know what the next book looks like, but I really like the writing process, and I'm already writing, again. So for sure, I mean, that's just one way that I like to communicate in the world.
For somebody out there who has a book in them but they just don't know where to start, what's the first thing they should make a daily practice of?
The answer is that you just sit your butt in the seat, you sit down and you start writing, and you write for half an hour every day. And if you can't find half an hour, because many days I couldn't, you find 15 minutes. And if you can't find 15 minutes, you find 5 minutes, because even that little chunk of time will keep the story percolating. And there's no way to write a book except to write it. And you just write it. And believe it or not, even with 15 minutes a day, you're going to write a book. And so that's just what I did. Mine took a really long time. I did lots and lots and lots and lots of revisions. I did lots of research and having to go, as I said, go back and talk to the primary people. But so it was long, but it was a labor of love. So I
Yeah.
didn't mind that it was long. And
Long
again, I,
how?
I just think that anybody who has a story to tell, just write it.
How long? You said it was long, like decades?
Oh, yeah. It took me 10 years.
Okay. That's important to say, because I think people think like, "Oh my goodness, this is taking me 4 months already." No, honey. Sometimes these things take a while to percolate, to marinate. Sometimes you have life interrupt, right?
Yeah. It took me 10 years. And I also want to tell people it was not easy for me to get it published. I had lots of um, obstacles. So I tried to sell it with on an outline. Often that's how publishers buy things. So I had an outline, and for the first 50 pages, and it didn't work. And so then I had to go back and write the whole thing. That's what I did. I wrote the entire thing. That's not how everybody does it, but that's how I did it. And so I think the point is that one of my life strategies, and I think you see it in the book, and I think you and I have shared this, I don't take no for a final answer. I will take no for an answer because you can't control who's going to hire you or fire you or break up with you or whatever. So I'll take no for an answer. I won't take it for a final answer. So when people said, no, I don't see it, or no, we're not going to buy it, I was like, okay, cool. I'll just keep fixing it. I'll keep working on it and making it better. That was just not the final answer to me.
You didn't pack up your bag and head for the hills. You were like, okay, let's see what else is possible. That is a good note for all of us, and no matter what we do. Ali, I want you to tell people how they can find the book. Available in bookstores everywhere?
Available in bookstores anywhere. You can order it on Barnes and Noble. You can order it at Amazon. You can go into your local bookstore. But if you want it with the single, the Shrapnel's first single, that was the band that I followed around as a teenager. Their first single was called Combat Love. It's a killer song. Even to this day, when I hear it, I become a little undone because I love the song so much. So the publisher is selling the book and the 45, rarebirdlit.com.
Excellent. Excellent. And of course, you can check out Ali on CNN. She is just one of my favorite people. I'm so lucky that I got to spend time every morning with you all those years ago in New York. Thank you for making my time there super special. And I'm glad our sisterhood remains intact despite the miles and the time. You keep on doing you, girlfriend. And we'll get together for a cocktail soon, I promise.
I can't wait. Yes. Thanks so much, Michaela. I love seeing you.
I love seeing you too. And for those of you tuning in, watching, listening, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time, and we'll chat next time.